Hopefully the light doesn't get me in this one from the sun. All right, let's get it started. In this game, I've got a exhibit for the Benoni from the Benoni Simplified course that this is supposed to be the modern main line against my move order that I recommend in the Benoni. And I'm playing against a Grandmaster here, and I wanted to show the key moment, and I decided to get to the Benoni from a King's Indian move order, and that's one of the big points for my text is it gives extra flexibility for the typical King's Indian player to have more options in their arsenal. So after c5, there's our typical Benoni break. Now rook e8 check, bishop e3. And when I was writing my book, I found that many authors just stopped at this position. It's like, yeah, the engine says it's good, therefore it's good for white. Yep, white just, much better. You don't have to worry about anything. Yeah, okay, cool, but in correspondence games, showing that black is holding up just fine here. So let's put pressure on the bishop. And it should be noted that rook takes e3 has been played in a lot of blitz games by elite players, and I do cover that in the text as well as a very dynamic option. But there's nothing wrong with this solid approach with bishop h6, followed by takes. Now the first key point. That pawn is not free. You don't want it. Because if rook takes e3, queen d2, after knight d1, you're having some problems. So we're going to leave that pawn in the way, queen e7. If we're going to take, we take with check only. So e4. Now the main focal point is going to be that e5 square. So let's go ahead and see if we can't occupy it under good circumstances. Now the opponent played the main line, queen f4. Okay, if we're going to trade, I want trades on my terms, so let's go ahead and get the king closer to the action, defend the knight. Now knight b5. So this is where a study of the middle game and how I advocate for students to play positions like this. Yeah, you need to know your openings to a certain depth, but then it's a general understanding by either going through master games or playing devil's advocate in positions where there are no masters games with the engine to figure out how to optimally play a position. And I thought that white was going for the most difficult option. As soon as I saw knight b5, I'm like, oh, okay, he knows his stuff here. So I'm like, all right, I need to prevent the fork and I need to keep a watch on d6, so rook d8. Now, a good test. My opponent in this game went queen takes e5, and I felt like I had zero issues. If you're playing white, what is the most nettlesome move here? And then, if you can find that move, try to find the continuation. So if you're a pause your video person, you have the opportunity 3, 2, 1. All right, now I'm continuing. So the move for white that is most nettlesome is knight takes d6. So the question from this point is for black, and this is another pause your video moment, what's best defense to maintain equality? All right, 3, 2, 1, let's keep it going. Well, got to do something about my queen, so we start there. We grab that, and now not e5 immediately, but rook a to f1. This next move is the critical move that ties together the defense for black. The give back. You can have the piece, so I can shut down the position and secure your pawns on the same color as your bishop. Black has sufficient counterplay here. So coming back to the main game, queen takes, pawn takes. Now if knight c7, I have rook b8, followed by knight h5, and counterplay. Black's fine there. my opponent played a3, and I see the opportunity to take some squares and potentially reroute. In many King's Indian and Benonis, you want to blockade that d-pawn in the structure with a knight, so knight e8. And I wanted this knight out of here so I could play knight d6, but this shows just the flexibility of the position, how many options black has to get fighting equality. Engine liked best the more solid b6 with this type of play, and I tend to agree. I went for the more dynamic a6, followed by bishop d7, and I am giving to get counterplay. Got good harmony here. Knight takes, bishop b5, not only hitting the rook but securing my knight. Everybody's working together. And finally, this was the last moment where this is again one of those psychological concepts. In a blitz game, you're playing quickly, you have a good position, focus on the position, not on the fact that you're playing against a grandmaster. Because I see a way to simplify to a position where I have no chance of losing, which is a typical MO for me. But if you're playing to win, rook c2. Because after takes, that pawn falls, this one's not going anywhere, and black's playing for 2 results. Missed opportunities. So after rook a5, I played knight c3, and this ends up being a pretty straightforward draw, as the only potential counterplay is with the passed d-pawn. I've gotten behind the passed d-pawn, making sure that the pawn majority can't be used over here, get a solid setup, no risk, and not much else to do. The white king is stuck defending the e-pawn, my rook's stuck nursing the passer and keeping white's king out, my king's stuck defending the f-pawn. White's rook has a free hand, but it can't really do much. So my opponent makes a draw by repetition. So this was a quick game in the main line of the delayed Benoni to show theoretically black's still completely fine. Just because an engine says something's like 0.7, okay, you still have to prove it in a practical game, and it's not always that easy, as results have shown in this line, especially in correspondence chess. And if it can be done with engine versus engine, it can be done with humans with practice, believe it or not.